The explosion rocked the room. Instinctively they ducked, then stood up slowly when they realized there was no danger. No one spoke. Silence filled the room. In that silence, the electronic tone that echoed through the room sounded as loud as a gunshot. All eyes turned toward it. It had come from the device mounted next to the door. The display changed from engaged to vacant. Let's see if we can open it. 7, the mountain, swallowed hard. Junpei nodded and placed his hand on the scanner panel. A red asterisk appeared on the LCD panel. The device had registered Junpei's bracelet number, 5. His was not enough, however. At least 2 more people were needed. Junpei asked, "Which pair?" I don't know who I should go with. Santa and, June. You think you can give me a hand here?" The pun was a little too on the nose, but the mood was still grim. Both Santa and June lifted their left hands silently. He verified, and she followed suit. 5 plus 3 plus 6 equals 14. 1 plus 4 equals 5. They'd fulfilled the conditions. If they were to pull the lever on the side. Are you guys ready? I'm gonna open it. Junpei grabbed the lever and looked back over his shoulder. They stiffened and nodded. Junpei nodded back and set his mouth in a grim line. Then he slowly lowered the lever. There was a metallic groan and the door slid open. A breath of air drifted out of it, carrying a stench that nearly made them gag. Junpei grimaced and put a hand over his mouth. Oh my god. Good god. Otis and A shuddered. 7 grunted. That's pretty bad. Even Santa's voice shook. He blew up. It appeared that Santa was right. The hallway on the other side of the door was splattered with chunks of torn flesh and dark red blood. Ah! The shriek echoed across the room. It had come from June. Then her strength left her, and she dropped. As Junpei turned to catch her, the door groaned shut. She crumpled to the floor. June, you okay? Junpei dropped to his knees and put his arm around her shoulders. That was when he noticed. Her whole body was feverish. She was radiating intense heat. What the hell? Where'd this fever come from? June didn't answer. Her face looked like wax and her whole body began to shake. Alright, let's just rest for a minute, okay? You think you can walk? She nodded weakly. Junpei lifted June to her feet and guided her to a nearby chair. Here we go. As gently as he could, he set her down in it. How are you feeling? Are you alright? She nodded, and as she did, a single huge tear rolled down the side of her face. Why? Why did this happen? Her voice cracked, broken by misery and grief and choked by sobs. Why did this happen? Junpei spun around. Do any of you know what the heck is going on around here? Who's Zero? What's his nonary game? Come on, anybody? Anything? What the hell's going on? What are we doing here? No one spoke. Ace, Snake, Santa, Clover, 7, and Lotus. They simply stood there, 7 pairs of downcast eyes and 7 grim lines for mouths. June's body shook with silent sobs. They slowed as the minutes ticked by, and eventually they stopped. Then suddenly, in the cold, heavy silence that had enveloped them like a thick fog, a bell began to ring. The clock in the central hall, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And then, on the 10th ring, it stopped. The sound of the bell faded away into silence. It's 10 o'clock then. Ace said what each of them had been thinking. That means it's been about 7 hours since Zero's little announcement. Did I say 7 hours? Holy crap. 7, you shouldn't have taken the name 7. Now you're going to get me confused. 7's deep voice echoed across the room. I've had enough of this crap. Santa leapt to his feet and his fist clenched. How long are we on a pussyfoot around like this? We've only got 8 hours until this time limit Zero was on about is up. Let's get going already. Go, go! Santa's outburst fell on deaf ears. No one seemed to agree with him. They stared back at him, their eyes blank and their faces tired. Finally, Lotus spoke. No, I refuse. I'm not going to end up like him. Him? You mean the 9th man? Birdman? Of course. Who else? In his mind's eye, Junpei saw the corpse again. A dark, reddish-black pool of blood. The scattered pieces of flesh. Organs strewn across the floor like the blossoming of a grotesque flower. The explosion that had torn through his body had been powerful. The 9th man's neck had been twisted at an odd angle. Junpei suspected the detonation had thrown him against the wall. Half of his face was crushed, and the other half was covered in blood. Most of his abdomen had been emptied, either by the explosion or by gravity. He had landed on his back, and stark white ribs jutted out of his chest, like the legs of some sort of macabre crab. Macabre crab. Junpei felt something flip in his stomach. I think he just screwed up. Eyebrows went up and Santa continued. He probably set off some sort of trap and that killed him. I'm not going to screw up like that. I'm getting out of here alive. Whatever Snake was laughing at, Santa did not find particularly humorous. What's so funny? Oh, my apologies. You were just so very confident. I couldn't help myself. I think you've mistaken the situation. The 9th man's death. It had nothing to do with the trap, or at least not the sort of trap you imagined it did. Then, he broke one of Zero's rules. That was why he died. Quite simple if you think about it. You still don't. Alright. How about you take a moment and think back to what Zero had said? Specifically, what did he say about the number of people? He said only 3 to 5 people can pass through one numbered door, right? And after that, you've forgotten the relevant part. What did Zero say? Santa furrowed his brow in thought. Junpei thought back. Zero said that everyone who verified had to go. All those who enter must leave, and all who enter must contribute. Right? I think it was something like that. Whatever it was, it means that groups of less than 3 or more than 5 can't go through. That is correct. Yay, I feel so accomplished. You're such a cool guy, Snake, giving me a gold star and everything. Snake inclined his head toward Junpei. The 9th man, however, broke that rule. He tried to pass through a numbered door by himself. That was why he was executed. Then Zero's watching us from somewhere, making sure we don't break any rules. Oh, I'm not so sure of that. Why not? Because this execution system is entirely automatic. You didn't notice? There's no need for him to monitor us. What do you mean? Snake looked at 7 with what could only be described as pity, and sighed. Very well. I see it must be me who tells you. I've waited long enough, I suppose. I had hoped Zero might spare me the trouble, but it seems increasingly unlikely. He couldn't see them, of course, but perhaps Snake sensed the confused eyes upon him. When I spoke, he gave words to everyone else's thoughts. Do you know something? Well, I know a great many things, but yes. What is it you know? Here. Snake removed a card from the pocket of his jacket. With a flourish, he presented it to Ace, who took a close look at it and spoke. Come on now. What's the point of giving me this? Give me that. Just give me everything. Santa snatched the card from Ace, but his expression of disgust quickly turned to one of confusion. Huh? The hell's this? Seven tugged it out of Santa's hands. Why does everyone's names begin with S? Ah, I see. The card went from Seven to Lotus, from Lotus to June, and finally to Junebay. He looked at it and understood. That's a lot of writing. This is Braille. Braille, the written language of the blind. The card was covered with small embossed bumps. Junebay could recognize it, but he certainly couldn't read it. Sorry, guys, I can't read this. You're useless. Junebay handed the card back to Snake, who nodded at him with a small smirk. Okay, that was fun. What's so important about that card? I found it in my pocket. That's the importance. My pocket is actually a portal to the alter dimension. I can only assume it is a message from Zero. From Zero? A message? What does it say? Suddenly everyone was crowding around Snake, desperate to hear what the message said. Santa especially looked as if he were about to grab hold of Snake and shake the answers from him. Snake raised his hand. Calm down now. No need to panic. You don't need to force me. I'll read it. Junebay swallowed hard and waited for him to start. He was not the only one. Presently, Snake began to read, his voice calm. His fingers glided over the tiny bumps as he spoke. Bracelet number 2. Since you are not blessed with sight, I shall bless you, and only you, with information. I shall tell you of the function of the red, of the dead, of the bracelet. The red is the recognition device. It will verify your number. Beside every numbered door you will find a red. The dead is the deactivation device. It does exactly what it says. Once you have passed through the numbered door, you must use the dead to stop the detonator in your bracelet. But perhaps you are wondering, what does this detonator detonate? I am afraid this may be something of a surprise. I have placed a small bomb inside of you, and the people whom you are about to meet. You swallowed it when you were unconscious. I have no doubt that by the time you read this note, the bomb will have passed through your stomach and found its way to your small intestine. In other words, you'll be unable to regurgitate it. I suggest you do not try. As I mentioned before, the bracelet on your left hand contains a detonator. Think of it as a remote fuse, or timer, for the bomb in your body. There is only one condition which will cause it to detonate. That condition is that you enter a numbered door. Once you have done so, the timer will activate, no matter who you may be. You will have 81 seconds. If, after that time, the detonator has not been deactivated, it will send a signal to the bomb in your body, instructing it to explode. To dexplode. In order to deactivate the detonator, every person who verified their number at the red must also verify their numbers at the dead. Once all numbers have been verified by the dead, you need only pull the lever at its side. The countdown will cease. Anyone who does not verify their number at the red will find themselves unable to verify their number at the dead. Redemption. That is to say, if you should pass through a numbered door without first verifying your number at the red, in 81 seconds, you will be dead. Revolver. You must also keep in mind that the numbered doors will close automatically after 9 seconds have passed. So long as the door is open, the dead will not function. You would do well to remember this. Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only two ways to do so. 1. You escape from the ship. 2. Your heart rate reaches 0. In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, or detects that its wearer's heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically. There is no other way to remove your bracelet. If you attempt to force it off or disable the detonator, the bomb within you will immediately explode. This is all the information which I can impart to you. How you choose to use it is for you to decide. If used wisely, you can eliminate those who might be a danger to you. For a time, you would be able to control your fate. I wish you the best of luck. Snake finished reading and carefully returned the card to his pocket. The message had been lengthy, but its meaning was clear. Only those who verified their numbers at the red could pass through the numbered doors. Teams could not increase or decrease their numbers. The Reds, Deads, and Bracelets enforced the rules. They were judge, jury, and executioner. In defiance of Zero's suggestions, both Santa and Seven put fingers down their throats and began to gag. You guys are smart. There's going to be puke everywhere. The rest stiffened. Some touched their stomachs. Some simply stared at their bracelets. Junpei gingerly touched his stomach, and then quickly rammed his finger down his throat. There was a bomb inside his body. The thought of it made him queasy. His stomach felt oddly hollow, and his legs were weak. Why had Zero designed such a ludicrous game? Junpei looked over at the others. All right, I'm going to ask one more time. Do any of you know anything about Zero? They were all silent, each person waiting to hear what the others would say. Finally, Santa spoke. Actually, I saw him. I saw Zero when I got grabbed. I didn't see his face, though. He was wearing some kind of gas mask. Come on, guys, give me something. You know, like surprise or something. Instead, it was Santa who looked surprised. There was a moment of silence, and then everyone spoke at once. Yeah, I saw him too. Me too. He was wearing a gas mask. As stories were sorted out, the truth became clear. All their stories were the same. They had been abducted at home at midnight after watching the television during the rainy night. The person claiming to be Zero had worn a mask. There had been white smoke, and then each person had passed out. When they awoke, they had found themselves on D-deck, in a room with a 3-level bunk bed. Only Seven's story seemed to lack detail of the others. Oh, me? Well, mine was just like the rest of yours. That was all he had said. It occurred to Junpei at that time that sounded somewhat strange, but he didn't press the issue. He hadn't done so because there was something that struck him as even stranger. That was the mystery of the relationship between Snake and Clover. For some reason, they had been abducted from the same room and woken up in the same room. Wait. Did I read that incorrectly? Might have. Junpei looked at them thoughtfully. So, you guys lovers. I mean, what? What's the deal with two of you anyway? It was Clover that had answered. Clearly, she felt that she had nothing to hide. We're siblings. Well, that would put a damper on the lover's theory. Siblings? Yes. Snake is my older brother. Obviously. That means I'm his little sister. Yeah, obviously. Wouldn't have guessed. I mean, it's so spot on that it's obvious. That really so hard to understand? Junpei was taken aback. The others seemed just as surprised. She is correct, of course. He laid his hand on Clover's shoulder. Are you surprised? Well, yeah, but why? There are other people here with connections to one another. Those two, for instance. Snake pointed at Junpei and June. Oh, you mean between Junpei and me? Yes. You did say you were childhood friends, didn't you? You went to school together. Yeah. June glanced at Junpei, uncomfortable with the sudden attention. Junpei felt somewhat nervous as well, and tried to scratch his head casually as possible. Hey, think maybe we could figure out who Zero is this way? Yeah, you're right. You connect the dots between the victims, and that leads you to the perp. Textbook stuff. Junpei, June, does any of this ring a bell? Ring a bell? Ring a bell? They looked at one another, and like it was staged, they both tilted their neck at the same time. Well, perhaps you went to school with the son of a multimillionaire. A millionaire? Son? Well, someone bought this boat and set up all of this. Whoever Zero is, they must be incredibly rich. Not necessarily, you could have just found a boat somewhere and just fixed it up. That's what, Tenpenny did. Fallout 3. Well, we can't be sure of that. To me, this seems as though it's the work of an organization, not an individual. Zero's most likely simply the representative of a larger group. What sort of organization? It could be a number of things. An army, perhaps, or even a research group. Perhaps this is all some sort of psychological experiment. If it is, then it's a pretty messed up experiment. I mean, come on. A guy's dead. The word dead hung in the air, heavy and ominous. The room went quiet again. I don't know who this Zero guy is, but I know for sure he's got to be pretty messed up in the head to do all this. If this was all one guy, then he's got some serious issues. Even with the specter of death hanging over them, their discussions continued for some time. In the end, however, they learned nothing. Didn't even matter. By the time they finished, 1.5 of their 9 hours were gone. All they had to show for it was impatience. Man, look, we only got 7.5 hours left, okay? You really sure you want to just sit around? No one was willing to argue this time. Very well then, there's only one way for us to proceed. Sure, not gonna be fun running around knowing we gotta jump when Zero says jump. Well, it's stupid to just sit around here doing nothing. Thanks to Snake's card, at least we have some idea of how all this works. Correct. And so long as we follow the rules, it will most likely be alright. But what? Who's going to go in which door? June looked toward the numbered doors. Oh yeah, that's right. We can't have any more than 5 people in a door. All 8 of us can't go in the same door. And it would seem we'll have to split up. But wait! Lotus looked terrified. I'm telling you now there is no way in hell that I'm going into door number 5. Come now, don't be selfish. Call me whatever the hell you want, I'm not going in there. If I'm going to have to go walk through with all that blood, I'd rather stay here. And we were doing so well. He shook his head sadly. Sorry, but I ain't going in there either. Someone else can go into door 5. Oh, Santa, not you two. Hey man, I just bought these shoes. If you think I'm getting some creepy dude's blood all over him, you got another think coming. Well, that was the last straw. Weren't you the one that kept saying we should get going? Yeah, so? Doesn't mean I wanted to go into door number 5. Oh god. There was an awkward silence. Finally, 7 spoke. Fine. I'll go into door number 5. I can't go in there alone, though. Anyone else willing to come with me? There was another long silence. This time Snake was the one to break it. I'll go. What? Don't worry, you'll be fine. We may part now, but I'm certain we'll meet again later. How do you know that? Because I do. That's not an answer. If you're going, I'm going too. I'm going to door number 5. What am I going to do with you? There's nothing you have to do. A step forward. If I join you, the problem is solved, correct? 7 is 7 and Snake is 2. you add Clover's 4 and my 1, the digital route would be 5. Calm down. Ah, works perfectly. The 4 of us can go into door 5. Wait, what about the other 4? What's their digital route gonna be? Junpei did a quick mental calculation. Calculations. Notice Santa, June, and Junpei remained. Their bracelet numbers were 8, 3, 6, and 5. 8, 3, 6, and 5. What would their digital route be? I am not doing this. God dang it. 8, 9, 10, 11, 17, 2, 22, 4. He repeated what he'd determined. It's 4. Add up our 4 bracelets numbers and the digital route is 4. And we can go into door 4. Yeah, that worked out well. Junpei ran over the team assignments in his head one more time. 4 people would go into door 5. 7, Snake, Clover, and Ace. 4 people would go into door 4. Lotus, Santa, June, and Junpei. Junpei had to ask himself if the teams were what he really wanted. Beyond door 5 was what remained of the 9th man. He never wanted to see that thing again, but something in him said it would be unwise not to examine the corpse even a little closer. Of course, if he went through door 5, he wouldn't be going with Lotus and Santa. True, it would be possible for him to bring June with him through door 5, but that would mean she would have to see the horrific carnage that waited there. Junpei didn't want that. Junpei was torn. Should he stay silent and go through door 4? Or should he stop them all and insist on door 5? As he turned his options over and over in his mind, Ace spoke up. Alright then, seems we've reached a conclusion. Shall we go? He began to walk toward 5. Clover and Snake followed with 7, a short distance behind. Junpei, which door do you want to go through? Oh gosh! The tension is palpable.